Hey everybody, and hope everyone's doing good as well. And of course, Happy New Year. I know we're kind of moving through it pretty quickly, but hope everyone's having a good year. So thanks for watching, of course, as always. And any comments, questions, feedback, thoughts, definitely let me know. So much appreciated. And of course, subscribe if you haven't. And thumbs up, that's what it is. Subscribe. Is that what it's called? Likes. Like the video if you like it. Okay, sorry. So I'm starting to get new equipment, by the way, and mess around with new backgrounds and hopefully better audio. I got a new microphone, so and I'm having fun doing it again. So appreciate your guys' input, and as I learn with all of this, and learn and with from you guys too. So I wanted to talk about one of my favorite topics recently over the past few years, aliens. So a little bit more about what's going on in the skies and just on Earth in general. And I think it's safe to say we're living in some real fascinating times, considering, humans go back thousands and thousands of years. But with technology, now we have the ability to capture things on film. And also, not only that, but we're gradually making our way into outer space with our space programs and Space Force and things like that. Not only that, but the government is finally more forthcoming about what's going on. Some things they say, we don't know what this is. We do know what this is. They're still not being totally honest, but they know a lot more than they let on, from what I understand. And there's some great videos out there, and I've done some channeling sessions too about that, and got some interesting information, part of which I want to share with you guys. So, yes, these spaceships are real. Not all of them come from outer space. So our government has been creating and experimenting with technology for a while, and some of these sightings are from us. So, of course, the government's not going to say that, or that they're in communication with extraterrestrial, physical, or interdimensional beings or civilizations in outer space. So they're releasing this in a very slow and careful manner. Now, there's been so many videos out there. I encourage you to go watch. And every time I come across this, I always ask. So I always ask the question, for example, is this real? Is this real? More often than not, it is real. There's been some hoaxes from what I've told, but not too many as far as the videos I've come across. A lot of these have to do with sightings, in some cases actually seeing aliens. So I want to start by explaining a little bit about the reason why we're seeing more UFOs, and not only that, why they haven't shown up yet. Because a popular question, one that I had too, is, well, if they're out there, why don't they just show up? And there's a lot of theories about them having advanced technology, and more so, and I've done other videos on this, extremely advanced. Why don't they just show up and fix things? So there's just like we have geopolitical rules and everything and alliances, and these shift and change over time, there's a general way that we're treated as a newly evolving species. So one is non-interference as much as possible, because everything is evolving physically here naturally on its own. If they were to show up and have any impact on, for example, saving dying populations of animals or curing disease, there'd be overpopulation. So even good gestures of intent can create problems that need solutions that we're not ready for quite yet. So to a certain degree, we have to figure that out on our own, unless we reach out to them, which we're starting to, and ask for assistance. But they're not just going to give us the most amazing technology, period, literally, like godlike technology to harness and create materials out of the infinite space-time continuum, just like with the Big Bang, for example, harvesting the very unending fabric of infinity itself to create anything we need. So if you can imagine, we can't even solve our own problems in our own countries, let alone on the world now. So if this power to fall into the wrong hands, then they can't just give it to us or give it to one side or the other. We have to prove responsibility to earn this sort of knowledge. And as we begin to communicate with them and ask for help in these sorts of things, also prove our responsibility with using this sort of thing. So it'll really come down to Earth pulling together and having a mentality overall, regardless of our differences, that we're all Earthlings and we need to thrive together, and use this sort of information for the benefit of all. Now, before I get too far off topic, so there's a couple examples I want to point to. They've been here, actually, by the way, a long time, on the moon, under the surface of it, here in the surface and underwater in places on our planet, observing us kind of like we observe, evolving species in nature. Now, alien abductions is one thing I want to touch on. So I disagreed with this for years, but I've been having conversations over the past couple weeks, as far as, channeling sessions and things like that, as far as trying to understand if this is the highest order of, highly evolved aliens, and there's a collective of them watching over this area. Why are abductions and testing and things like that allowed? So this is really interesting. It's two-part. So one, it's allowed, but also it's not. So it's allowed in the most careful manner, keyword being necessary. Is it necessary or not? For example, as us, the caretakers of this planet, it is necessary that we study plants and animals, and we have to sometimes capture them and take samples in the most careful manner possible. Is there a way to eliminate fear or anything like that while doing this, or even pain sometimes? No, unfortunately. And sometimes the best answer is not the perfect answer. So, and it's hard to draw this line. It was for me in my head too, but we are that species. So if this greater species is watching us and allowing us to live here and do our own thing, they have to understand to be caretakers of this place in order to best understand what's going on here. They're studying us just like we're studying life here. They're just kind of like one level higher on the ladder. But it's done in the most careful manner possible, just like we have ways to, carefully capture or sedate animals, for example. Or painless ways to kill them. They have ways, and it's not perfect again, but they only do it when absolutely necessary. So it's allowed when needed. Now, it's also not allowed, by the way, because it's very tightly controlled. So there was a recent story, I think, a few months ago in Peru about these villagers being harassed, and they were being attacked, basically, and samples were being taken from them. From what I was told when I was asking about this, so this is a species of off-world aliens, by the way. So they're humanoid slightly in appearance, but they look different. They have alien features, I guess. But they were coming down here and doing these sorts of things. It's like poaching, for example. They were breaching protocol. They were not following the rules of, intergalactic non-interference or doing things when necessary. So they were coming down in here. They don't have bases or anything like this here. I thought they did initially, but from what I understand, these kind of came and did, and then tried to get out of here as soon as possible. But are being, they were caught. They know what they were doing, and they were being chased down and dealt with by off-world authorities. I know that sounds amazing, but these villagers, when you watch their stories, they're not lying, and they have these pictures, and they create these amazing stories, and it's unreal. It's hard not to believe them. So there's examples like that. There's so many different videos now of people viewing UFOs in the sky, and I swear 90% of them, the ones I asked about, are all real. And so sometimes they're flashing their lights or flying by or doing light shows. I saw this crazy one tonight where it blew a light ring, like a smoke ring, but there was this little alien and it just blew this big circle of light. or I'm sorry, alien, a spaceship, and it was flying in the air, and it was like shooting these circles of lights, kind of like when you're smoking a cigarette or a cigar. And I actually asked, what are they doing? Like, is that real? And the answer was yes. That's a very real spaceship. And I said, well, what are they doing when they fly around? Like, why are they doing this? Why are they doing this for people in areas where people can see them? And they said, this is their way of saying hi. So that's what I heard. This is their way of saying hi. And I was like, wow. And it kind of made sense. Because you know how, I did a video on this recently, but there's a group of tribal people living in the most basic fashion in the Sentinelese Islands. And same thing, we'll fly by or go by on boats or wave or say hi or give them gifts and then leave, or try to establish contact carefully at a distance to let them know that, hey, there's other people here, and we come, there's no harm or anything. The alternative being just invade and conquer and then slave and that sort of thing. So this is their way of doing that. And apparently it's because of this technology threshold that we've reached. So we're getting to this point where, it's no longer like word of mouth stories or writing stuff down. People have cell phones and we have technology. And again, we're going into outer space. So stories are no longer hearsay. People have proof. Even our government's admitted that there are off-world biologics, I think they call them, and spacecraft of non-Earth origin. And I think they're honestly trying to figure it out as well, because there's good and there's bad civilizations out there. But thankfully, there is one of a higher order that kind of watches over this area of the galaxy, just like we do, watch over our planet. And it's not perfect, but they have rules for what they do and why they don't interfere. Thank the Lord why they don't just invade us and take over, but are kind of gently making their presence known to us. And there's multiple species out there. It's crazy. Okay, so there's it's almost like Star Trek or Star Wars, There's this federation of civilizations that kind of work together, kind of like the UN, but are far much older and more advanced. And we are just taking the first steps into earning our way into it, just like people have to earn their way into the UN. That's a good analogy, actually. So it's really crazy and it's really interesting, and it explains a lot of what we're seeing and why, and some of the questions like I was mentioning, why don't they just show up, or why don't they just help us out, or why are abductions occurring, and are these real UFOs? So as these truths become more clear, and as I'm starting to ask these questions, the answers are just making sense. So I wanted to share that with you. On a final note, and I haven't dug into this one yet, but there's a crazy video about aliens being seen at the Miami Mall. I don't know if any of you have seen that yet, but from the little information I've asked about so far, there's something to it. So I wrote it off initially as, because people were like, it was this or something else. But with many things that are disinformation, the story was killed immediately, and no one's talking about it. No one even came out to say, it was just, this was happening instead of this. And it was silenced immediately, and people who were there are silenced. And there's things surrounding this, and there was hundreds, not just a couple dozen. If you go Google it, you see there's not much on the story out there, and the government's really trying to keep a lid on this. And there's a lot of hallmarks of this being some sort of cover-up related to aliens. I don't know, but I'll share that with you when I find out. But I find it pretty crazy. So anyways, that's all I wanted to share with you guys. And again, thanks for watching, and let me know, have you had any experiences, or what your thoughts or beliefs are in this sort of thing? It's interesting, and again, the truth is revealing itself to us, and people are admitting these things in multiple governments, not just ours, across the world. So it's an exciting time, interesting time to live in. Well, thanks again for watching, and I appreciate it. So you take care, and we will see you in the next video. Thank you.